The movie opens with our blind protagonist, Sophia, performing as a pianist in an orchestra. After finishing her work, she heads home and stops by a cafe next to her building. While at the cafe, Sophia overhears a news story recounting how, between 1992 and 1995, over 10,000 people were killed and millions displaced during the Bosnian War. The news also mentions Zoran Radic, a former Serbian war criminal turned philanthropist, who is now facing accusations of orchestrating an arms dealing and human trafficking operation. Upon returning to her building, Sophia comes across her neighbor, Veronique, who lives upstairs. Sophia cheerfully compliments her scent, revealing her sharp sense of smell. Veronique thanks her for performing at her father's event and asks if she was comfortable with it. In response, Sophia claims that her father is ill and needs the money, so she doesn't care about anything else. When Sophia asks about the name of her perfume, Veronique responds that it's a secret. Later, while playing the piano in her apartment, Sophia is distracted by loud noises coming from upstairs. She soon overhears Veronique and someone else having an intense argument, but decides to ignore it and go to sleep. That night, she has vivid nightmares of her childhood, recalling someone locking her in a wardrobe to protect her. When she wakes up, she hears Veronique arguing upstairs again. The next day, as Sophia returns home from work, she slips on the stairs and injures her hand. She picks up the object she stepped on and discovers a woman's shawl, which she proceeds to smell. Checking her mailbox, she finds a small glass vial containing liquid and again smells the shawl. Later, while taking the elevator back to her apartment, a terrified Veronique suddenly enters, being chased by a man. Concerned, Sophia asks what's happening, but Veronique reassures her that she's fine. Before parting ways at Sophia's floor, Veronique suddenly moves close to her and tells her to look after something for her. She also reveals that her secret perfume's name is Liquid Gold. That night, while in her room, Sophia hears Veronique arguing again upstairs, followed by sudden manic laughter. Then, out of nowhere, Veronique falls from her balcony and lies dead on the street below. Shortly after, the police arrive at Sophia's apartment to inform her of the tragedy. A detective named Oscar Mills asks about her relationship with Veronique, to which Sophia responds that they didn't know each other well and rarely spoke. When Mills asks if she heard anything from upstairs earlier, she denies it, claiming she was wearing headphones at the time. Meanwhile, Mark, the man who was chasing Veronique earlier, sits in a car with his sister, Alex, looking distraught. Alex demands the USB drive Veronique had, but Mark insists she didn't have it. Hearing this, his sister urges him to go back to the apartment and search for it. It is then revealed that Zoran Radic sent them on this mission to kill Veronique. However, Mark worries about a woman in the elevator who saw him, prompting Alex to insist that he get rid of her. At the morgue, Detective Mills meets with a doctor, who reveals that the evidence suggests Veronique committed suicide, as there are no signs of struggle. However, they discover she recently had a nose job and dyed her hair just a week ago, raising questions about why she would take such measures if planning to end her life. The next day, Sophia struggles to concentrate at the orchestra. On her way home, she hears the news about Zoran Radic again, and is shocked to learn that he is Veronique's father. Radic has just left the morgue for identifying her body, but people remain unsympathetic due to his dark past. When Sophia arrives at her apartment, Mark has been waiting for her with a gun. Observing her, he quickly realizes she's blind. In the bathroom, Sophia hears a noise outside. She quickly opens the door, but Mark is gone. Noticing her front door ajar, she realizes he was inside. Elsewhere, Mills receives a call from the autopsy doctor, who informs him that Veronique was 12 weeks pregnant. Shocked, Mills asks the doctor to keep this information confidential. That evening, Radic holds a gathering in honor of his daughter's death. Mark, also present, reveals that he couldn't find the USB, but Alex remains confident that it is still in the building. Mark then shows her ultrasound images he found, revealing Veronique was pregnant. Alex coldly tells him not to get upset, suggesting the baby probably wasn't his. At the party, Sophia arrives and plays the piano. Radic, intrigued, asks how she knows the tune. Sophia explains that Veronique requested it, as her father used to hum it to her as a child. Surprised by this connection, Radic invites Sophia to his office, while Alex and Mark watch in surprise. In his office, Radic offers Sophia champagne, describing his daughter as troubled. Sophia, however, insists that Veronique was kind to her. When Radic steps away to talk to Alex, Sophia discreetly takes out the vial of liquid poison and attempts to pour it into his drink, but accidentally drops it. Meanwhile, Alex advises Radic to show more emotion over his daughter's death, instead of trying to seduce a blind pianist. When Radic returns, Sophia quickly covers the vial with her foot. Before leaving, she discreetly crushes it and drops her champagne glass to cover up the noise. Later, as Sophia heads home, she senses someone following her. It's Mark. Entering a dark alley, she is harassed by a group of men, but is unexpectedly rescued by Mark, who fights them off. They go to a nearby cafe, where Mark reveals that he works for his sister, who runs a security consulting firm. Sophia claims she knows nothing about Veronique's death, but shows Mark her shawl, stating she can still smell her. Before leaving, she asks a musician friend at the cafe to play a specific piece of music if he ever sees Mark again. That night, Sophia has another nightmare about her childhood, where her family was murdered, and her house was burned, but she was saved by a man. While playing the piano, she recalls Veronique slipping something into her pocket the USB Mark has been searching for. Detective Mills later visits Sophia, questioning if she remembers anything new. When she denies it, he reveals that Veronique was pregnant, shocking her. After Mills leaves, Sophia meets her adoptive father, Niall, who warns her that Detective Mills is persistent and will soon uncover her real identity. It is then revealed that Sophia is a survivor of the Bosnian War, and that Radic was responsible for her family's murder. Niall, who saved her and gave her a new life, has been her guardian since. Sophia hands Niall the USB, believing it contains crucial evidence against Radic. She suggests trying liquid gold as the password. Meanwhile, Mark watches them from a distance. Later, Sophia is kidnapped by a group of thugs demanding the USB, but before they can harm her, Mark ambushes them and rescues her once again. He urges her to hand over the USB, but she denies having it. Knowing she's lying, Mark questions whether she's seeking revenge on Radic, but she refuses to answer. As the story unfolds, betrayals, hidden identities, and painful truths come to light, leading to an intense and dramatic conclusion, where Sophia's past and present collide in a final reckoning against Radic.